Karoline Leavitt just made history, not only as the youngest White House press secretary at 27, but as someone who knows how to fire back when under attack. When actor Robert De Niro tried to take her down in a viral X video, calling her a MAGA puppet, Leavitt didn't flinch. She clapped back instantly. He should take a good look at himself, a fading Hollywood actor reading lines and throwing cheap shots from his bubble. This wasn't just another celebrity spat. This moment marked the start of something much bigger. Leavitt didn't just respond. She flipped De Niro's viral moment into her own spotlight. And now, all eyes are on her. De Niro's video went viral fast. In a polished Los Angeles studio, he stood under bright lights, voice full of drama, launching into a scathing takedown of Leavitt. He called her a mouthpiece for Trump, a political pawn, too young and inexperienced to be taken seriously. He even said, "She's a breeze, easily blown away by any real political storm." But here's the twist. Instead of being shaken, Leavitt used the criticism to double down. Her tone, unshakable. Her presence, solid. De Niro wanted to make a statement, but he ended up giving Leavitt a bigger platform. In his 5-minute video, De Niro reminded viewers of all the times he'd slammed Trump in the past, from award speeches to interviews where he called Trump more dangerous than a mob boss. This time, though, his focus was laser-sharp on Leavitt. He claimed she was a symbol of a shallow political trend, polished, scripted, and repeating slogans without depth. "She's just playing a role in Trump's bad play," he said. De Niro also took aim at the MAGA movement, calling it a circus built on division and misinformation. With Trump as the ringleader, he claimed Trump's policies, especially the tariffs Leavitt praised, damaged the economy and raised prices for Americans. "She defends these policies like she understands them," he said mockingly, "but she doesn't." Then came his harshest criticism, her age. De Niro argued that at 27, Leavitt lacked the life experience and political maturity needed for the job. He said she was chosen not for her ideas, but for her youth and ability to deliver pre-written lines. "Being press secretary demands depth, quick thinking, and strategy," he claimed. Leavitt has none of it. He didn't stop there. De Niro even criticized her look, from her designer suits to her presence on platforms like Truth Social and X. But despite the noise, Leavitt didn't waver. She responded with a calm but pointed rebuttal, showing that she can handle pressure and isn't afraid to fight back. "She thinks politics is just about posting on social media," Robert De Niro said with a smirk. "That's not leadership, it's immature." In his latest viral video, the veteran actor didn't hold back. He took aim not only at Karoline Leavitt's loyalty to former President Trump, but at her values, judgment, and decisions, especially her return to work just 4 days after giving birth. "She calls that dedication," he said, voice laced with contempt. "No, it's an obsession, an unhealthy loyalty to a man tearing this country apart." De Niro painted Leavitt not as a rising political star, but as a misguided figure, a young woman swept up in Trump's political machinery, unaware of the larger consequences. "She believes she's saving America," he claimed, "but all she's doing is enabling chaos." This wasn't just a personal attack, it was a warning. De Niro urged viewers to see the moment as a crossroads. "We can't let people like Leavitt, so naive and blindly loyal, shape the future," he said firmly. His message was especially aimed at those against the MAGA movement. He encouraged them to spread the word using the hashtag De Niro Fights. "This is bigger than Trump or Leavitt," he concluded, his tone lowering. "It's about protecting the American dream from those tearing it apart." Within minutes of release, social media exploded. Many in Hollywood and left-leaning communities praised De Niro as a voice of reason, someone willing to stand up and speak the uncomfortable truth. Back in Washington, Karoline Leavitt sat behind her desk, the room dim but focused. She watched the full video, listening to every insult, being called a puppet, Trump a clown. But it didn't shake her, it sharpened her focus. As a prominent MAGA figure who rose from New Hampshire to the heart of Trump's team, Leavitt knew how to handle public fire. She turned to her advisors, calm and collected. "He calls me a fleeting breeze," she said, a small smile on her face. "Then I'll be the storm." When the doors of the White House press room opened, all eyes turned to her. Cameras flashed. Reporters leaned in. Leavitt stepped out in a bold pink suit and cross necklace. Confident, steady, ready. She approached the podium slowly, her hands tapping in rhythm, eyes locked on the crowd. This wasn't a defense. This was her rebuttal. A CNN journalist broke the silence. "Miss Leavitt, De Niro called you a MAGA propaganda machine. He called Trump a clown. How do you respond?" Her answer came without hesitation. "Mr. De Niro believes I'm a machine," she said, voice clear and firm. "I'm not a machine. I'm the fire that burns through every lie out of Hollywood." A wave of applause swept through the room. MAGA supporters cheered online and in person. Leavitt didn't hold back. She took De Niro's comments and flipped them. "He says MAGA is a circus? Let's talk about the results. President Trump created 3.2 million jobs, cut taxes for 80% of Americans, and brought 5,000 citizens safely home. That's not a script. That's leadership." Then came a question from a New York Times reporter. "De Niro says you lack experience. What do you have to say to that?" Karoline Leavitt didn't hold back. With a voice full of sarcasm, she shot back at De Niro. "Mr. De Niro, I respect Goodfellas, but politics isn't the movies. You live in a mansion far from the real lives of working Americans. While you play heroes, Trump is out here rebuilding the American dream." The remark landed hard. Conservative circles erupted in laughter. Even some neutral reporters chuckled. Then she delivered a blow designed for Gen Z. "If you really want to challenge MAGA," she said, "try TikTok instead of hiding in an editing room." That single line lit up social media. The hashtag Leavitt Hollywood exploded, trending at #1 on X. Memes flew across the internet, images of De Niro looking shocked with captions like, "Karoline MAGA's superhero." But Leavitt wasn't just delivering punchlines. When an MSNBC reporter pressed her about Trump's tariffs, calling them a disaster, she answered with sharp confidence. A 20% tariff on China saved millions of American jobs and brought in $70 billion, she said. "That's not a failure. That's strategy. That's putting America first." She paused, letting the facts hit. Then she added, "Hollywood's busy filming. We're busy building. Jobs in Iowa, factories in Michigan, farms in Texas." Applause broke out again. Even reporters who normally challenged her were taking notes. Then came a question from Fox News. "De Niro says MAGA is divisive. Your response?" Leavitt went straight for De Niro's image. "He calls us a circus," she said, voice hardening. "But look at his roles, his legacy, violent characters, mocking millions of Americans. That's not true. That's acting." The word acting cut deep, stripping away De Niro's credibility in an instant. She grew quiet for a moment, then spoke from the heart. "I grew up in New Hampshire. I saw families fall through the cracks because of failed policies. I'm here for them, not to put on a show like De Niro." The room went silent. Then it exploded in applause. The moment went viral. Leavitt posted a 15-second video on Truth Social during her briefing. "Hollywood can't touch MAGA." Within 10 minutes, it hit 2 million views. X was flooded with memes and reactions. Posts called it a knockout. MAGA groups live-streamed, calling it the battle of the century. Even neutral audiences admitted it. Karoline was changing the game. Another reporter asked, "De Niro says Trump is destroying the American dream. Your thoughts?" Her response was strong and steady. "The American dream isn't dead, it's happening right now. We're bringing back jobs, securing the border, empowering families. He calls it a circus. We call it taking control." The crowd rose to their feet. Cheers echoed across the room. She lifted a hand to quiet the room. "If Mr. De Niro wants to debate," she said, "he should step off the set. This isn't a movie, this is real. And MAGA doesn't back down." The press room erupted again. Conservative reporters clapped. Others scribbled in silence. A CNN reporter asked, "Do you think Hollywood's losing its influence?" Leavitt answered without hesitation, Hollywood thinks it can shape minds, but that era is over. Americans don't want lines from disconnected actors. They want results, trade deals like the USMCA, energy policies lowering gas prices, and job programs for our youth. That's the American dream, not a script. Thunderous applause followed. And when a Newsmax reporter mentioned that De Niro had called her naive, Leavitt's tone softened, but stayed clear. Naive? She said. I'm mature enough to know Americans deserve more than insults. I'm not here to impress Hollywood. I'm here to serve the people. The words struck a nerve. Some in the room were visibly emotional. She ended powerfully. America doesn't need Hollywood's lectures. It needs truth. And MAGA is the flag of truth. Within an hour, her speech had over 7 million views on X. The hashtag saw Karoline Rising past saw De Niro fights. Even Trump reposted her clip on Truth. Social writing. Karoline is a great warrior. Hollywood lost this round. Tucker Carlson called her Gen Z's firebrand. Charlie Kirk posted, Karoline Leavitt didn't just speak. She made history. With her fiery performance, she sent a loud message to Hollywood. Don't mess with MAGA.
Liberal reporters tried to push back. They asked tough questions, looked for cracks. But Leavitt's answers were sincere, backed by hard data. They had no weak spots. An MSNBC reporter, caught on a hot mic, whispered, "She's redefining the fight." And she was. What started as De Niro's insult, calling her naive, became her fuel. Leavitt didn't stumble. She surged forward. The press room turned into her battleground, and she stood there, tall and unshaken, victorious under the glare of the lights. This wasn't just a good speech. It was a generational shift. While Niro still had that old Hollywood shine, Leavitt was the blinding light of something new. One Truth Social user captured it perfectly. Karoline didn't just take down De Niro, she shattered the whole system. The internet exploded. Her speech posted to X reached 10 million views in just under 2 hours. Every line, MAGA is the flag of truth, Hollywood can't touch us, was turned into viral content. The hashtags, Karoline Rising and Leavitt's Hollywood dominated global trends. Digital artists joined in. One graphic showed Leavitt wielding a glowing truth sword over the ruins of Hollywood. Another showed a confused De Niro captioned, "When you think you're the lead but Karoline turns you into a sidekick." On Telegram, MAGA groups live-streamed reactions. Every argument, from tariffs to job creation, was broken down like a title fight. They called it a first-round knockout. Truth Social became the epicenter. MAGA users hailed her as a cultural icon. One post read, "She didn't just beat De Niro, she burned Hollywood's fake script to the ground." Comparisons rolled in. Some called her a modern-day Joan of Arc. Others declared, "From Joan to Karoline, women leading the charge for truth." The clip of her mocking De Niro with "try TikTok instead of the editing room" racked up millions of views. Gen Z creators jumped in, remixing the video with light effects and bold superpower captions. The meme storm was unstoppable. Media outlets responded fast. Fox News aired her speech in full, with Sean Hannity calling her the blazing torch of the next generation. Newsmax's headline read, "The woman who silenced Hollywood," but liberal media scrambled.
CNN tried calling her too aggressive, only to be roasted online with posts like, "CNN calls it aggressive, we call it truth." MSNBC brought on a professor to defend De Niro, but it didn't land. Leavitt's facts about jobs, tariffs, and her personal journey were too solid. One ex-user summed it up. They're trying to save De Niro, but Karoline won by knockout. The MAGA movement rallied hard. From Mar-a-Lago, Trump posted, "Karoline Leavitt is a great warrior, Hollywood can't touch her." The post racked up millions of views. Tucker Carlson declared her MAGA's breath of fresh air. Charlie Kirk said, "Gen Z is leading and Karoline is the flag." Elise Stefanik wrote, "Karoline Leavitt just rewrote history. Hollywood lost." Every word of praise added fuel to the fire. De Niro's supporters tried to fight back. They called her arrogant But MAGA users responded with clips from her speech, lines that had already become iconic, and the final message was clear. Karoline didn't just win a debate, she lit a revolution. Arrogant? No. That was confidence. Unshakable. Earned. Karoline Leavitt didn't need scripts. She had data, truth, fire. De Niro had theatrics, but Leavitt had receipts. While liberal commentators scrambled to defend him, claiming he was speaking for democracy, their words drowned in the tidal wave of support crashing through every corner of the internet. A Reddit meme went viral, De Niro's face beneath, the words, "When you think you're the godfather, but Karoline turns you into the intern." It wasn't just savage, it was symbolic. The culture had shifted. Even the neutral crowd, once skeptical of Leavitt, even allergic to MAGA, found themselves swayed. An ex-user who claimed, "I'm not a Trump guy," posted, "Gotta admit, Karoline, Leavitt owned the stage. Her data, rock solid, her vibe, real." On Quora, threads popped up like wildfire. Is Karoline Leavitt the future of MAGA? Hundreds chimed in, praising her brain, her guts, her clarity. One top comment summed it up best. "She didn't just beat De Niro. She made me want to understand MAGA. That was the real victory. She didn't just preach to the choir. She pulled back the curtain for the audience who'd left the theater long ago." Meanwhile, De Niro, once Hollywood's golden god, faded. His viral attack video, which had dominated headlines days before, was now nothing but digital dust. The hashtag Karoline Rising stormed past his every effort. His insults, calling Leavitt propaganda, Trump a clown, MAGA a disease, lost their edge. Against Leavitt's logic, they sounded like echoes in a canyon, loud but hollow. 2 days later, desperate for redemption, De Niro posted a lengthy statement. He called MAGA a threat to democracy, tried to explain himself, tried to look like the adult in the room. It backfired. Only a few thousand likes. A viral quote tweet laughed, "De Niro thinks he's Raging Bull, but Karoline made him the sidekick in a sitcom." Memes exploded. TikToks mashed up his serious film scenes with audio from Leavitt's takedown. One popular edit, De Niro whispering, "I was a star," before cutting to Leavitt's quote, "Try TikTok instead of an editing room." 5 million views. The internet had decided De Niro wasn't a threat. He was a meme. Hollywood elites tried to salvage his image. A few actors, a couple of directors, some soft praise from The Atlantic, but MAGA Twitter tore it to shreds. One Truth Social post nailed the sentiment, "He's not a conscience. He's just a guy who memorized lines." Even big outlets like Variety and The Hollywood Reporter had to admit it. Karoline Leavitt exposed a fundamental truth. Hollywood's cultural dominance is crumbling. Producers quietly backed away from De Niro. One insider leaked, "He bet everything on that speech and lost. We're moving on." And in the wreckage of that old spotlight, Karoline stood alone, strong, clear-eyed, real. She didn't need a studio. She had the people. Fox News called her a torch in the darkness. Forbes wrote, "Leavitt proved influence doesn't come from fame. It comes from connection." A YouTube parody of De Niro fleeing her speech hit 5 million views. A TikTok edit with Hollywood Zero, Karoline 1, trended globally. On Reddit, the top thread was brutal. Should De Niro quit politics? Comments poured in. Yes. He lost before it even started. Leavitt flipped the whole script. And just like that, a new truth became impossible to ignore. Karoline Leavitt didn't just challenge Hollywood, she replaced it. De Niro, despite his long-standing legacy, had become just a reference point in Karoline Leavitt's growing success. Leavitt emerged prominently, casting a new light on the future of the MAGA movement. Her commanding performance in the press room not only overshadowed Hollywood's influence, but also established her as a highly respected figure among millions of supporters. Following her impactful speech, Leavitt didn't pause to celebrate. Instead, she immediately immersed herself in work, displaying high energy and determination. She steadily positioned herself as a key leader for the new generation within the movement, combining intelligence, authenticity, and a contemporary style. At a press briefing held after De Niro's appearance, Leavitt strongly criticized liberal media, referring to them as protectors of the elite and manipulators of truth. Her remarks, broadcast live on X, attracted millions of viewers, many of whom began referring to her as the voice of the people. One Truth Social post stated, "Karoline didn't just outshine De Niro, she's challenging the entire media landscape." Her growing confidence, combined with her bold fashion choices, such as her signature red suit and sharp heels, further elevated her public image. She quickly became a cultural symbol, even earning the nickname MAGA's Style Queen among young fashion influencers on Instagram. Leavitt continued to attend MAGA events across the country, from rallies in Florida to policy conferences in Texas. During an event in Miami, she told a crowd of thousands, "We don't need Hollywood to tell our story, we are the story. Workers, families, believers in a greater America."
The audience responded enthusiastically, many holding up signs that read Karoline 2028, suggesting a growing interest in her as a future political candidate. One attendee posted on X, "Karoline represents the future. She makes me proud to support MAGA." Leavitt's influence extended beyond the core MAGA base. She began drawing interest from younger voters who had previously shown little engagement in politics. At a youth forum in Arizona, she focused on vocational training and job opportunities, addressing issues important to many seeking stable careers. President Trump's apprenticeship programs created millions of solid jobs for young Americans, she stated, emphasizing practical steps toward achieving the American dream. The response was overwhelmingly positive, with several attendees sharing on X that it was the first time they felt motivated to get involved in politics. One user posted, "Karoline made me, a 22-year-old, care about politics for the first time." At the same time, mainstream media outlets began to take note. The New York Times described her as a rising challenge to established power structures, although it still critiqued her assertive approach. However, this criticism often backfired. One user replied, "They call her aggressive, good. America needs strong leaders." On platforms like Reddit, discussions speculating about her political future gained traction, with many suggesting she could eventually run for president. Leavitt's rise became an example of persistence and values-driven leadership. Her early experiences at her family's ice cream shop had instilled in her a deep respect for hard work and loyalty, traits that now defined her public image. Combined with her sharp thinking and generational appeal, these qualities made her an essential figure in the movement. At a youth conference in Nevada, she addressed a large audience with the words, "America doesn't belong to the elite. It belongs to us, the ones who are willing to stand up and fight." The crowd erupted, phones raised, sharing the moment on TikTok under the trending tag, "Leavitt leads." The phrase spread rapidly, becoming a symbol of her growing grassroots support. Political analysts began predicting she would advance further, possibly as a congresswoman, senator, or even presidential contender. A National Review piece referred to her as a refreshing force within MAGA, projecting that she would significantly influence American politics over the next 10 years. Truth Social echoed this sentiment, with a widely shared post reading, "Karoline Leavitt is the future. She will lead us toward a stronger America."
These weren't just compliments. They were seen by supporters as a rallying cry. In a rare quiet moment during her busy schedule, Leavitt stood alone in her White House office, reflecting on her journey. She thought of workers in New Hampshire and families across the country striving to uphold the American dream. "I'm not doing this for recognition," she once said in a Newsmax interview. "I'm doing it for the people who put their faith in us, in President Trump, and in the MAGA movement."
That quote quickly circulated on X, with users responding, "Karoline is the heart of this movement." As Hollywood's cultural dominance began to wane, it faced a new reality. It was no longer the only influential voice. Through platforms like Truth Social, TikTok, and X, Leavitt had shown that real influence comes from being close to the public. A Forbes piece summed it up best. "Leavitt has transformed the way politics connects with people. She doesn't need Hollywood's spotlight. She creates her own."
Gen Z creators on Instagram praised her with sleek edits, blending images of Leavitt with the American flag, and captions like, "A guide for a new generation." Leavitt also sent a strong message to her followers: keep pushing forward. In a truth. Social post, she wrote, "MAGA is more than a movement. It's a promise to America, a promise of freedom, opportunity, and truth." That post, showing her standing in front of the White House, received over 5 million interactions, with MAGA Forever spreading rapidly across platforms. She encouraged her supporters to share their personal stories, turning MAGA into a true people's movement. One ex-user commented, "Karoline gives me hope that we can actually change this country." Leavitt became more than just a political figure. She symbolized a changing America. She stood for traditional values like hard work, faith, and patriotism, while also bringing a fresh, modern energy with Gen Z appeal and strong digital presence. A TikTok video showing her with the caption, "The future is here," gained over 2 million views, with comments such as, "Karoline is exactly the leader we need." On Reddit, discussions began to emerge. Could Karoline Leavitt be MAGA's first female president? An idea that once felt far-fetched but now seemed possible. Her victory over Robert De Niro was more than a personal win. It reflected the deeper social and political divides shaping America today, particularly between conservative ideals and cultural elites. At just 27 years old and hailing from New Hampshire, Leavitt managed to counter De Niro, a Hollywood figure, by combining hard data, like the creation of 3.2 million jobs and 20% tariffs on China, with her genuine family background and modern messaging. Her use of memes, TikTok trends, and slogans like "Leavitt fuels Hollywood" helped her resonate with millions. Leavitt's rise online, highlighted by the 15 million views of Karoline Rising, and De Niro's decline emphasized the strength of direct engagement in a world where traditional media holds less sway. Platforms like X and Truth Social are now central to political conversation, showing that individuals can make a major impact with the right strategy. Her story delivers a crucial lesson: sincerity and authentic communication still matter. Despite her humble beginnings in a New Hampshire ice cream shop, Leavitt didn't need Hollywood glamour to make waves. She relied on facts, like the millions of jobs created during Trump's term, and a heartfelt personal story. In today's divided society, where liberal media often dominates the narrative, her example shows the power of owning and sharing your story. Leavitt's strategic use of platforms like X and Truth Social, where she reached over 15 million views, proves that anyone can be heard. With the success of Karoline Rising, Leavitt demonstrated that social media can connect with people across all walks of life, from farmers in Iowa to factory workers in Michigan. Whether it's through TikTok, Instagram, or X, share your beliefs just as she did. Her signature bold blue suit and cross necklace became symbols of a cultural shift. At the same time, she reminded us that persistence and faith in core American values like patriotism and hard work can overcome any challenge. When De Niro tried to undermine her, she turned it into an opportunity. There's a lesson in that. Be bold, speak the truth, and stay genuine. Whether you're a student, worker, or entrepreneur, your voice can inspire and drive change, just like Karoline Leavitt did for the MAGA movement and for America. Subscribe to the channel to keep following Karoline Leavitt's remarkable journey and the evolution of the MAGA movement. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video with more powerful moments ahead.